thought I would share with you something that, some materials that a colleague and I made ourselves many years ago when we were working in Poland. And some of our students asked us what are the differences between British and American English. So we put together this little dialogue, which is, you'll see, it's kind of silly, but it's also kind of fun. We made some activities that the learners had to do. Working with learners, we would play this twice. The first time round, they would listen and say, where does this conversation take place? Who are the speakers? And list 4 examples of misunderstandings. So then we would play the recording again, and this time you have a list of American expressions and their British equivalents. So your job is going to be to listen carefully to what are the British or American equivalents of the words that we see here. How did you do? Let's take a look. So a sidewalk in Britain is?
Pavement.
Good. Parking lot?
Parking.
Car park.
Car park.
Car park. The British city centre is?
Downtown.
Downtown. And how do you say cheerio?
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Excellent. Yes. Good job. Well, this, and then you see that there's a third listening here as well. And this is the point where we look more at the form that the language has taken, and we ask the learners in the third listening to listen for differences in pronunciation. And that's actually very hard for non-native speakers of English, to hear the differences in the 2 versions of English. But generally speaking, I showed you this partly to say that if you don't have the materials that you need, you can make them. And it's a little amateurish and a little, it's not very flashy. But now, of course, with technological resources, things can be done much better. But also the learners themselves like the personalized element. They knew our voices, and they knew we were just having a bit of fun. And it just made it a bit more something which was directed particularly at these students.
One of the hardest things, I think, for me learning a language was being on the phone.
Yes.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
And also here we didn't have control of starting and stopping and rewinding it, but we could do that where they do have control.
Absolutely,
of
yeah. This
that.
could be like in a language lab or that kind of situation.
So that could be fixed, but
yeah.
just you have half the resources that you really use.
Yeah.
Can't look at the person.
And I think we need to think carefully about what situations are we reproducing here. And this is like listening to something on the radio, where you can't stop it. It is a disembodied voice. Or on the telephone also. So you tend not to have control often in listening situations. But we can think of other listening situations, face-to-face ones or language lab ones, where the students do have control, at least over where it gets started and stopped, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but still, if you are using like visuals, if they are watching at the same time, listening, now you are making 2 skills working instead of just one. And instead of me being frustrated and trying to figure out what he meant, I would just figure out the meaning from the picture.
Yeah.
When he's saying pavement and he's showing that he's talking about the sidewalk,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even wait for the other person to say what it meant.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, I believe that visuals are very important, and if you can provide visuals with listening, that can be complementary.
That's absolutely true. And in fact, in our next session, we're going to be looking at using video. I do want to emphasize, though, that it's worth once in a while forcing the students to use fewer resources, to only listen and not see and not read. And I think the key word that you used, Fatima, was, actually I don't remember the word, but it meant essentially complementary, that we can use both kinds of activities. And you often hear people asking, should I use video or should I use audio? The answer is both, always both, because this forces you to really pay attention to the actual listening skills that you need. This is really attuning the ear to getting used to listening to, and remember, listening to different users of the target language. Men and women, old people, young people, people from different walks of life, people from different, in this case, geographical regions. All of this is part of the skill of knowing the language. learners come in often with a lot of anxiety that they're expected to know every single word, and if we can wean them off that, if we can encourage them to use strategies rather than feeling that they have to know every word, then it really will be to their great advantage to be able to do that. I think that's more the model that we need to be thinking about. But again, structuring the task so that the student doesn't feel frustrated but feels a sense of achievement.